Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi on this discussion on this, on the disengagement which is taking place between India and China. A lot more seems to be happening than what we can see on the surface. It's something that we would like to analyze a little further. Is it just the border? Is it the border plus the SEO? Is it the border plus SEO plus other things? And plus, plus, plus. Let's see what those pluses are. I have with me, as you can see, Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar. Sir, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. How are you? We
Great,
missed
sir.
yesterday. We missed you
Yes, we
yesterday.
missed our game yesterday, I think, but we are back with a bang today to
Okay.
understand this disengagement ploy, if I may.
No, it's not a ploy. I mean, if you look at it very simply, it's a trade-off. I've written about it today in an article. The trade-off is, we'll disengage, and you come to Shanghai for that SCO meet. As simple as that, right? But then, before we get into all this, I think we should understand what happened. It is only then we will know what this disengagement is, what are the precursors to this disengagement, and what is the later day story of this disengagement. So first, we'll go through a set of maps, all right, to understand what this whole thing is about. Yeah. Look, this is a broad map. Unfortunately, for some reason, the LAC hasn't come out in this. But look at it this way. You see, this is the map. The black line is the original India-China border. In that black line, you see one yellow line going. That's the road. That's the G125 or whatever that road is, which goes through Rootog. And I marked Demchok, PTSO is Pangongso, Gogra Hot Springs, Galwan, Depsang, and DBO. Generally, this line, forms the LAC, right? So, and area to the right of this set of markings which I put is the Depsang Plains or the Aksai Chin. Okay, and the left I will see. We'll just see this whole area. Now you look at it. It's a little confusing, but if you carefully look at it, there's a white streak in the center. Okay, those are snow-capped mountains, and you see towards the center, the snow-capped mountains is split in the center by a river. That's the Shiok River. Okay, okay. To the east of that Shiok River is something called the Changchenmo Range. Okay, and east of this Changchenmo Range, where is a brown expanse, that's the Aksai Chin and the Depsang Plains. Depsang Plains is to the north, and Aksai Chin is to the east. And then you find one road, with a lot of red dots connecting. That's their expressway, and with the whole lot at Rootog. Rootog is uh, much to the east along this expressway. This is the terrain. Now, the next map I'll explain to you. Everything will come. Look at this now. This map clarifies everything. The red line is their expressway. The G129 or whatever it is. Then first, let's identify the mountain ranges. Right after the expressway, as you move to the east, you see the Changchenmo range, right, which I've written there. Then further to the east is the Sasar Massif. It's a Sasar. It's called the Sasar Kangri or the Sasarla Massif. Okay. Further to the east is the Ladakh range. Okay, where from the north to the south, as you come along the Ladakh range to almost to the center and bottom of the map, you see this Kailash range. You see two lines, which is the Kailash range. The Kailash range is basically to the south of Pangongso, but it is also a split area, and there's a range to the north of Pangongso. That's what we occupied, last year to scare the Chinese. Okay. Now, if you see from the south, there are blue lines. Okay. Now, the bottommost blue line is the Indus River. Okay. If you go further to the a little to the north, where Pangong Tso is written, that's the Pangong Tso Lake. And further, you see a river which comes from the north and takes a V turn and it keeps going further east. That's the Shyok River. Okay. Now, right now with this, if you understood where it is, unfortunately, I don't think this does this support a pointer. I don't see that
I
happen.
don't think so, sir.
Okay. Anyway, just where that blob Pangong Tso is written, on top of that, you see a red blob. That red blob is Gogra. Okay. And this is where this thing happened. If you go along the Changchenmo range, you come to another little red blob with a white dot inside. That is Galwan. You go further, you see another red dot with a red blob with a white dot. That is Depsang. Right? Earlier we had face-offs. I mean, we've always had face-offs at Depsang. We had face-offs at Galwan. We had face-offs at Gogra. Gogra is not exactly Gogra. In Gogra hot springs area, there's a hot springs also there. There's a place called Konkala. In these areas, there is, you'll hear this in this thing. I'll not go into minute details, but there are two petrol points. One is called petrol point 15 and the other is petrol point 17 alpha. There were two face-offs there. Then further to the south is the Pangong Tso and the Kailash range, and to the southernmost area is Demchok, which we saw. Now, if you understood this, we'll go back to the first map. This is Demchok for southernmost, then the Pangong Tso, Gogra Hot Springs, Galwan, Dapsang, and Dibyo to the north. So we'll go back to this now minute map. Now you get the correlation or not, Adi?
Indeed, sir.
Okay. Now, uh, when the last year, as the process of defusing the tensions, we went into a series of corps commanders meeting. In one corps commanders meeting, it was decided that we'll disengage at Galwan. That was where Quad was disengaged first. The next disengagement came at Pangong Tso and Chushul, right? And that was a major disengagement which we covered in detail, if you remember. And then was a minor disengagement at PP 17 Alpha. That happened in August last year, right? And then it was expected that PP 15, which has happened now, will happen, but it didn't happen for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Then it was felt that, when Wangi came in January or February, whenever he came, it was
March.
felt that, March, that when he came, this will occur. It didn't happen again. And after that, there have been two co-commanders meeting. Every meeting, it was felt that it will happen. It didn't happen. All of a sudden, it has been announced now, and it's been done within a matter of 1 week. This disengagement has been done. Let me tell you, this disengagement is not great. It's a very minor disengagement. Um, uh, the 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 thing why Chinese were a little worried about this disengagement is this Gogra is at the tail end of the Changchenmo Mountains. And at the tail end of the Changchenmo Mountains, right, or the Changchenmo range, it merges with the Depsang Plains or the Aksai Chin. Okay, we were holding almost the crest line of this at the end of this. From Gogra, if you go down, you outflank the Depsang Plains and you hit quite in depth, right? And that's why they came and occupied. But luckily, the encroachment here was not too much, and the Chinese were quite apprehensive because this, if you use this, it gives an approach behind Galwan Valley and it behind Aksai Chin. You can actually outflank the Chinese completely. On our side of this Changchenmo range, it's all mountains. On their side, it's all plains. So you just have to debouch from the north into the plains, and if you are tactically smart and you have mobility in mountains, you can actually dominate the Depsang Plains and the Aksai Chin. That's why they were very worried about giving this up. It's a good thing that they've been forced back. They've agreed to it. But having said that, the let me show you the first map. Right? Yeah, the face-off at Depsang and Demchok still continues. Okay. Why you have to understand? Depsang is critical for us because behind Depsang we have very little. You see, if you see behind Depsang, uh, right, you have the Shyok River and the Sasar Massif. So you don't have much depth. So it's critical for us. Okay. On the other hand, Depsang is critical for them. If you see, sorry, Demchok. If you see Demchok, okay, behind on the east of Demchok, you see their expressway running, western, that G29 129 highway. In fact, in this entire eastern Ladakh, this highway is closest at Demchok, just about 20 odd kilometers. If you are in a position to cut it off, that is why last time they came and occupied some part of Demchok so that they don't open up their defenses. And they wanted to do something at Depsang, which we stopped them. Okay. People will say, oh, you were sleeping. Well, that was last 2 years back. We did what we had to do. And if you remember at that time, I said the time will come when they'll go back. So now we have only two left. Okay. So are we done with the map? You understood? Any questions on the map?
Absolutely, sir. I think
Right.
we are done. Can I take this off?
Yeah, take this off.
So, I want to
Right.
spend a little 1 minute
Wait.
more and ask you a small question on this
Yeah.
particular segment. I think it's a very clear explanation that you've given, and especially the part about PP17 Alpha, where the hot springs area actually can outflank the entire their settings.
Both PP15 and 17 outflanks their area.
Now, see, that's something that the common public doesn't know, and that's of course it's a lot of detail for us to know. But the problem that I see in this whole thing is that the way it has been explained by so-called experts is that it is a give and take of land which is taking place. We've created a buffer zone and this and that. Nobody really talks about these in-depth details. And trust me, to all people watching, this is something that we must know. There are advantages and there are disadvantages. So,
Yeah, look, the buffer zone is hardly anything. Let me also put it this way. What is this buffer zone? A lot of it is being made. The LAC is one line. Logically, this side of the LAC is yours, that side of the LAC is mine. That's the way we look at it. Normally, that's what the understanding is. But along the LAC, right from beginning, the Chinese and us, we've had different perceptions of the LAC. What are the different perceptions of the LAC? It's very simple. I'll explain it. Say this is the LAC. This finger is the LAC. Okay. The Chinese feel this is not the LAC, but somewhere here is the LAC. We feel no, this is not the LAC. This is the LAC. Okay. So it's a bulge. Now instead of one line, it's become a packet like this. They feel this is the LAC, we feel this is the LAC, and this you know gap is about say 2 kilometers approximately. It could be 10, 20 also. In Pangong, so it's more than 9 kilometers.
nine.
So okay, from finger 8 to finger 4 is about 8 to 9 kilometers. Right. Now, what the idea is that as per the original understanding, we were allowed to patrol up to our perception of the LAC, and they were allowed to patrol up to their perception of the
Yes.
LAC.
Hmm.
Right? Now, the face-off took place somewhere in between these two perceptions. Well, wherever you were behind your own normal LAC, the center point or not, well, that is. Now, what has happened is you said no one will patrol this area. That is, both man, it's not a no man's land, it's not a buffer zone. Said both don't patrol this area. So you've gone back to their perception of the LAC, he's gone back to your perception of the LAC. Because your perception of the LAC is in his land, his perception of the LAC is in your land. So you've gone back to each other's perception of the LAC. And we're gonna maintain sanctity of this zone, which is people are talking of buffer zone,
Hmm.
or people talk of it as no man's land. It is neither that. It is both man's land where no patrol is going to take place. As simple as that.
So it's no win for anyone or no loss
It's
for
no
anyone.
win for anyone, no loss for anyone. Okay, it is not as if you just decamped from there and gone. You're still there. You are in a today. You're in a state where an accidental, firing or a scuffle uh, will not spiral into something more.
Hmm. You're
Every
not eyeball to
disengagement,
eyeball.
yeah, every disengagement guarantees that. Yeah, you
Sure.
have two major disengagements at Depsang. Standoff still at Depsang and in Demchok. But give time, it will resolve. That I'm very clear. Okay. And now the way the deployments are there, look, for in the past 2 years, I've spoken to many people who served there, who've been in Galwan, who are still serving there, who know the terrain well, who this thing. There is no way China can do anything. And equally, there is no way we can also do anything. It is packed with troops. Okay. Everyone, both India and China, have got themselves into a position where we can't take advantage, they can't take advantage at this point of time. This is in the eastern Ladakh. Other places, I'll not talk. Okay. Other places has other dynamics. But here, not much can be done. The guy who is better trained, who can handle the mountains better, will win the day here. On that score, Indian Army gets my vote any day. Any day. It's a walkover. Right? As far as I'm concerned. Unless the Chinese come and prove themselves to be something which they are not. Okay. So this is, but then the disengagement at this PP-15A is very small, 15 or very small. It's a very minor thing. I remember someone saying the encroachment is less than a kilometer of PLA. That's why they last year before last itself, people said, "Look, this is a low-hanging fruit to develop confidence. Let's finish it off." But like the Chinese are Chinese, they'll not give up in a hurry. So you should not also give up in a hurry. It's taken this time. So this is the military part of the story.
Is
Let's
there
look at
another one?
huh?
Is there another one?
No, the political part of the story.
Yes, sir.
The political part of the story is very simple. For Xi Jinping, this is the first time he's coming out of the country. It's a coming out party, as if
But yeah,
it's a coming out party for him. Why his coming out party can't be, spoiled? How will it be spoiled? If Mr. Modi doesn't go to Shanghai or deputes the foreign minister to represent India and doesn't meet Mr. Xi Jinping at all, it's a loss of face. Remember, while this is a coming out party, next month is the 20th Party Congress to anoint him as. He can't look bad that Mr. Modi has shown Tenga to him. So, it's a pro quid को भाई हम पीछे हटते हैं आप आइए तो ये आई मीन हिंदी में बोलेंगे तो ये मुंह दिखाई का प्राइस है ये
ah,
ठीक है आप आके पधारो आप हमसे बात करो और हम पीछे हटेंगे so we have to also remember there's a big lesson for us. Many people ask these questions and I answer. Everything in China is political. There's no military angle. So the whole story of this LAC is not a matter of you attacking them, they attacking you, they're doing firepower, borrowing missiles, X, Y, Z. No. This is all political. It's a political game going on. For once, India is playing that political game the Chinese way, which is great. Even now, if you notice, Mr. Modi is not going in a hurry to Samarkand. Today evening, there was supposed to be a boat ride and informal,
get together.
get together of all the leaders. Mr. Modi is reaching there after the dinner. That itself is a message. Tomorrow he'll meet whoever he has to meet. After all, we have to remember in the Shanghai Corporation meet, Mr. Shahbaz Sharif will also be there. So will Xi Jinping. Both are dear neighbors. Okay, they might be collusively they might be collusively sitting next to each other also, but that shouldn't scare us. So we have actually given a great message. The message is also that we are going for Russia, and we're going to have a dialogue with Iran, which is more important for a more energy thing. Okay,
Absolutely.
so we have given very clear signals. Yeah, in the process of that meet, yes, there will be a face to face. There will be a hello. I mean, you can't exude, you know, aggression and all that there. So you will say hello. You will be shy, civil, everything, and I don't think anything will go beyond that. But the Chinese will make a song and dance. They'll say, "Oh, India came because Xi Jinping went, Modi came, and all that." Incidentally, while this disengagement has been analyzed and covered in great detail in our press, it has hardly found any mention in the Chinese press.
Just one line.
Why just one odd line? It's sunk without a trace. They don't want to say that. Look, they've done given this concession because then the public will, you know, very this thing. So that's the give and take. So why not take it? Be
In
smart. You convey your message, everything, and be happy.
Xinhua news, they mentioned that India-China pullback already agreed upon troops. So
Whatever. I mean, look. The fact is that
didn't cover it.
they didn't cover it too much. Okay.
So I want to ask you something now.
Yeah.
Let's look at the global politics as per se. So currently, the two kind of so-called groups that are coming in is the collective West and supposedly the global South. Now, the global South, supposedly, again, guys, please don't shoot me for saying this because a lot of you may not like it, is supposed to be led by Russia and China, right? And they are trying to influence the rest of the world. The Chinese are pulling through BRICS and that whole thing is happening. Now, just as an optic speaking, I mean, because this whole past some time has been a battle of narratives and optics. That's something that we are seeing. The ground actually is nothing. Optics wise speaking, Modi, Xi, and Putin being in the same area gives kind of a legitimacy of some kind to the global south as per se. Do you think
Well,
this is a move in the larger perspective or it is just between an India China and an SCO
no,
sort of?
wait. Let's be very clear. SEO is a organization which has been in existence for quite some time. It's not
Yeah,
new.
absolutely. And
Okay,
it's
and we've
also
been part of
based.
it. We've been part of it. There's nothing new. So there's no optics.
Mm,
Whatever that optics has to be built up of, Russia, China, and India in this is already detracted by the fact that our prime minister is not doing anything social out there. That's the
yes.
first point. That message is very clear. Okay. Second, the SCO is very clear that no bilateral issue will be taken up. So no bilaterals will be taken up. Okay. Third, as much as you think it's an organization, everyone might think that India is part of the story. They might think India is a spoiler there.
A spy.
Whatever. It's not a spy. We are a spoiler. We can spoil this show completely. So they will not. They don't expect too much out of this. From India's perspective, it is good to stay engaged with them because your a lot of your energy interaction is with Central Asian republics. You depend on them for energy. Right? Why again? Russia? Why are you dealing with Russia? Energy. Okay. So it's worth that to looking at it that way. And plus, Iran is also coming into the picture there, and you have historical ties with Iran, right? And you need Iran. I've always said, if you remember when we used to discuss Afghanistan, I've always said that Iran has to be taken in to handle Afghanistan and Pakistan. So they are also coming into the equation. So I mean, one has to be. This is real politic, pragmatic, right? And we have not stepped back from 1 inch from what our commitments in Quad are. After all, we just had a lot of interaction at foreign ministers level in Quad. Okay. Plus, we've had 2+2s and all that. Plus, we are going through the naval exercises. Plus, the Indo-US exercises to take place in October. Oli. So, all these things, if you look at it from a wider perspective and not rhetorically, that India, China, and Russia are getting together and they'll form a new bloc, it's not a new bloc. The Chinese press and the Russian press might make it sound that way tomorrow. That's a different story. It is up to us to dispel such thoughts. And that's, if you have a look at what I have written today on disengagement, SCO, and beyond in Gunner Shot. Okay, this is what I've made. Russia, hitherto for China, will have a new set of normals. In fact, I'm writing with someone else on the new set of normals which China expects from us and what we expect from China. After all, there's an equation which has to go on. I mean, you share 3,000 kilometers of
Yeah.
LAC, which you have to resolve. Unless you know what he expects and what you're prepared to give, and he knows what I expect and what he's prepared to give, there's no going forward, right? So to that extent, this is a good way of talking. Like I've written in that article, I've ended that article with one liner. Uh, my only fear, which I've always feared, right? Because uh, the way we conduct our foreign affairs and a lot of our people, go beyond themselves. Okay. Actually, China deserves a Juta parade. I only hope we don't give them with a Jula parade. Okay. Like it happened in Ahmedabad long back. So I don't. If that doesn't happen, the rest is all fine.
Looking at what happened to Wang Yi when he came here, it's
Yeah,
quite
he
doubtful.
got snubbed completely, and he had to go back empty-handed. Okay,
Empty-handed.
and we've had recent instances that Yuan Wang coming and this Chinese fellow talking what he wanted, and that ambassador. He had to be told about. We had to invoke that one China. We had to rather be go silent on one China.
A
We've
lot of stuff has happened. A lot of
Yeah, a lot
developments.
of things have happened. I don't think this is going to be anywhere taking us to the bonhomie which China expects.
Hmm.
And we have to be very clear. Any deal with China means it's a Sino-centric world we are looking at. You are going to lay down and say, "Thank you, China. आ जाओ हम आपका हम अपना पूरा मार्केट खोल देंगे तुम अपना झूठा पैसा आके ले आओ और वो चीप मोबाइल्स लेके आओ और सब कुछ करो." So I don't think that. I think
True.
that we are past that.
That stage is gone. I
Yeah,
think very interestingly, I think you mentioned something which is in an overall aspect of it. You mentioned that in China nothing is non-political, everything is political.
yeah, yeah,
So when you look at it, they made a political move 2 years ago, and
yeah.
then 2 years later, their politically appointed foreign minister had to come and try and make another political move to
Move.
wrap
Yeah. So
it in.
look,
So who's
we
winning?
all think that China is a great country. Okay. I'll give you one example, and they're as big fools as anybody else. No, it's a fact. I'm not. I'm going to talk facts.
No, I'm not saying that you will give an exam. I'm just saying you'll give only one, sir.
No, no. One to highlight the issue. Uh, look, everyone, when this COVID came, the vaccines were coming out. These fellows were into vaccine diplomacy, X, Y, Z, and all that. What happened? They played third-rate vaccines. Those vaccines are not being accepted by their own people. Why is zero COVID going on? Because even the Chinese government is not confident about their own vaccines. Why should the common man be? I mean, can you imagine the vaccines which these people used to say, I'll give it to you, I'll prioritize, I'll give it to friends, I'll give it to non-friends, whatever nonsense they used to talk. Today, their own people are saying, go to hell, I'm not prepared to use it. Their own government is hesitant to use it. Okay. Now the icing on the cake. Uh, all countries vaccinated their elderly people first. China didn't vaccinate their elderly people. China vaccinated their younger people. Why did they vaccinate the younger people? Because all these vaccines were put through clinical trials on younger people and not older people. And this fact was known to everyone. Older people said, "इसमें vaccine का trial ही नहीं होता. Why should I take and die?" End of story. Can you imagine how big fools they are? Now they are stuck in the zero COVID policy. So we should be very clear that what we do and what our government does in these issues, despite all what we can criticize them, we have done the right thing.
True. And look at Xi Jinping today. Tight
Yeah.
mask, standing away.
Yeah. You can really put a mask elsewhere also.
No. I think Modi should go and
He can put double mask and go.
Yeah.
Whatever. The fact is that we've
Big thing.
handled this thing far better than China. And we should get that confidence, right? So we leave it at that. So
Right.
yeah.
So guys, I've got a lot of comments and questions here, so I'm going to start with that. Keep firing, and before I start with your comments, please do hit the like button. Check your subscription for all the guys who joined new, and I see some new names as well. Secondly, of course, if you can, please do contribute to the Dev Talks efforts. You can use UPI. You can actually, hit a super chat right here, or you can just join the channel. I've also got a website. It's a small thing right now. It's getting developed. You can also read General Shankar's blog there. It automatically updates. So it's called www.thedevtalks.com. Log in, check it out, keep a track. There's going to be a lot happening on that space. Let's begin.
Yeah.
Sir.
Before I take on any questions, I must tell everyone who's listening. I request you to contribute to Aadi, because if you don't contribute to Aadi, you will be only seeing my face. I'm only free of cost. If you want better people to come into these live shows and a wider opinion, you have to contribute so that you can pay and get better guys than me. Otherwise, I can keep talking what. No, my thing is free of cost. It's okay, right? I don't want anything. So, but if you want better people, you have to contribute to Aadi. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I contribute. Look, I contribute to Aadi by giving my time free of cost.
I won't agree to that, sir. But anyways, I'll support the contribution part. Anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's move forward, sir. I think let's hit one of our regulars first, sir. Mandar. He says is disengagement or de-escalation or whatever only to ensure Modi and Z aren't discomforted at Samarkand. I think sir covered this. But,
yeah, Mandar, it's not only discomforted. I think it is more to save Xi Jinping's face. Okay. Otherwise, if Modi had not gone there, Mr. Modi had not gone there, his whole thing would have come apart. And mind you, he is more critical as far as political situation is concerned than Mr. Modi. Okay. Mr. Modi, at least till 24, is very clear that he is going to be the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Okay. After that, we'll see. Democracy is democracy. But he is not. If he is not, if there's he loses face now, he might be. I mean, Chinese system, you never know what happens.
What and how.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Venki, for that super sticker. And I remember your question from last week, so I'm going to ask that. Is China pulling back to buy time, recoup due to his internal chaos and come back later?
No, we've said that this is only very tactical to get some political gain and political mileage out of the whole story. Look, for China, it's a big thing, right? For Xi Jinping, it's a big thing. See, I went and Modi came despite the standoff, this, that. That's the way it's going to be played out. I'm very sure it will be played out that way in their local thing. Outside, they might not talk of this too much.
And
see, look, see this whole game. Till now, they've played the outside game and kept quite inside. After this, the outside will be quiet and inside they'll jack this whole story up.
Yeah. And this is the same Modi, sir, who when he took power in 2014, I mean, you can read these
Yeah, yeah,
Chinese
yeah.
articles who said Modi will have to bend down in front of
And
sea,
yeah,
and today they have to
we,
move away militarily
yeah, yeah. There's
to.
no doubt.
So we've come a long way. So
Yeah.
I'm going to just put this as a compliment to you. Would have loved to work with you.
Oh, thank
So
you. But whom are you talking of? You're talking of Adi or me?
no, yourself, sir.
No, no,
He gave me a
Adi
separate
looking
compliment.
smarter today. Good. Yeah.
Sir, to the question, is Kailash range not a part of India?
Kailash range is part of India. There's no doubt about it. Some parts are, the range is huge. Some parts swing into China. So that part which is in China, or rather Tibet, is under other side of the LOC. LAC is with them.
So Mandar comes back with another one. This is a better explanation that is given by TV channels during the Galwan fight time. Thank you so
Well,
much.
okay, if you had seen our shows at that time, you would have got a much better, clearer idea of what we were doing.
As a matter of fact, guys, there are playlists. Please check them out. There's a whole in-depth discussion that Sir has done about it. He's spoken about the lines and this, and that, and a whole lot of other things. We've covered the airfields, we've covered their helipads, we've covered, I mean, a whole lot. So check
Yeah,
that out.
we've got into detail. Not only this, if you go into my blog, you see the Sino Indian Logjam series. We've covered about 8 to 10 articles I've written of that time, and they're topical to the point of events of that time. Yeah,
And by the way, I'd just like to say this here. A lot of people write about these LAC and this and that. Please only listen to people who've ever been in that area. I mean, it's damn important that we must understand. It's not like a road marking that ye yahan par hai, wo wahan par hai. It's not like that. And some of us would have gone to the Pakistan border. I've been to Pengong, so I could not make out which one is finger 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. We can see it in a satellite map and figure it out. But trust me, when you're seeing it laterally, you can't make out anything. So
yeah,
I'd really recommend focus on people that have gone there, served there. Sir has. So
yeah. I spent 2 years in that area. Yeah.
$1 million question: when will the Chinese back off from Depsang Place, and when will India stare down China?
Look, India is staring down China. Let's not have any doubts. Okay. When will they back off from Depsang plans? Wait for the next political opportunity. It will come. I have no doubts they'll go back.
That's a statement of the evening, sir. I must say.
It's a matter of time. You must also remember that everything is a matter of relative strength. The relative strength pendulum is moving towards India's way, right? So, and China, if you actually see the internal dynamics of China today, is in a poor shape, right? Look, can you imagine this area between the East Coast and Sichuan? It's gone through earthquake. It's still going through a drought, and there's a typhoon today, Muya, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the typhoon can come, but their main lakes are still dry. They're not getting water. The crops are going. People talk of China having lifted almost everyone out of poverty. Today, I read a report, either New York Times or Washington Post, I don't remember, which said that there are going to be a lot of people in China who are going to slip back into
Yeah.
poverty this year.
Yeah.
So that will weaken them. And okay, it's not enough. You have so many high-speed trains which don't have passengers. Ghost cities are being broken. Can you imagine buildings being broken because they can't be maintained? They don't have money to maintain. Forget selling, right? And today the property meltdown is at its peak in China. People are not able to sell property or buy property. People don't have money to buy property. So China is at this point of time pretty weak. Let's not have any doubts about it. Yeah.
Sanjeev Saab says exciting important for highway connecting China to CPEC. Correct. Please do a talk on impact on floods on CPC. Yeah, we'll do that. It's a little far away right now. But would you like to take up the first comment, sir?
Look, Aksai is not very important per se for the CPEC because the CPEC goes further to the north. Okay. Uh, but Aksai Chin becomes important in the sense that the alternate route to CPC, which they're now trying, just north of the glacier,
Malaysia.
comes very close to KK Pass, the
Karakoram.
Karakoram Pass. And if you regain Aksai Chin, that area gets strangled a bit. So it becomes relevant. Okay, but then Aksai Chin has other relevances. So right, and it basically severs the connection between Tibet and Xinjiang. Half of Xinjiang gets cut off. If half of Xinjiang gets cut off, or they have to go from rear, then other problems start off uh, in Xinjiang. You can start many things. So that is why they are very worried. This communication is important. Yeah.
So Harsh says, what is the future of RIC? I think sir gave a hint on that.
I can't say rest in peace, RIP. You can say you RIC could be rest in comfort. आराम करो and ऐश करो कुछ नहीं होगा.
There's a lot that both of them have to deal with, and
Yeah.
India should just look at his own interests. I think that's something. Do increase? Do Chinese? Are the Chinese increasing their activity in Arunachal?
I don't think so at this point of time. I don't think they will rake up anything. Okay. And it's doubtful. But there's no evidence of their increased activity.
I think where this question comes from is this news about these so-called villages which are supposed to come up.
Look, all those are unverified things which no one has commented. Neither the government has spoken nor the army has spoken. If you just because you've seen a few films of Chinese with dozers, you can't make out whether it's this side, that side of LAC.
Or even Nepal for that matter.
Yeah, Nepal also.
Mr. Nair, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining. Why call it LAC? Is it line of imagined control? LIC. I hope our MEA mandarins drop this LAC punditry.
No, it's actually line of actual control because you actually control that line
Yeah.
by force. It's not imaginary. We know where the LAC is. Let's be very clear. I know exactly where if I'm going into an area, I should know where the LAC is. I remember I went to Demchok long back. You know, in Demchok, between our post and Tibet, there's a nala which comes down from, I think it comes back down from the west. Yeah, it comes down. No,
Nala.
no, 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 not that's Tipchap River. That's much to the north. East, yeah, it comes from the east, and it's a small nala, and it goes down to a stream, and then it joins Indus ultimately. Okay, it's a very small stream. You can walk across, and you will not get your boots also don't get wet. But the interesting part is in that stream, upstream there are hot springs, beautiful hot springs. You can go there and have a bath, and even in freezing winter, you can't stay in that water. Okay, good old times. There were in any hot spring. If you go, it's not one place what hot springs come out. There in that there's a little pool about 5-6 places hot springs come out. So in one side, once upon a time you found Chinese soldiers having a bath. This side, our people having a bath. It's as simple as that. And that's the LAC. In between that stream is the LAC. You don't cross, they don't cross. You don't talk nothing. The BSF chaps, the ITBP chaps there used to say, sir, if you want to go have a bath, have a bath. The Chinese patrol will come after 2 hours. So we know where the LAC is. It's not imaginary, right? It's where you control it. To that extent, the LC is more tightly manned, right? The line of control. The difference between the LAC and the LC is it's only that A. Otherwise, it's the same. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Piyush Joshi asks, China movements to south is making that buffer zone small day by day. So can we move north and surprise China?
See, the trade-offs and actions across the LAC or along the LAC is not that going down buffer zone and all. Told you about this buffer zone. But this buffer zone is a wrong analogy which is common.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, even the Chinese won't like a buffer zone. We don't like, they don't like. Why? The moment you put a buffer zone, you lose claim on your perception of the LAC.
And then you sign the thing that this is the line.
There's a line. So that means, so there is a problem there. No one will accept this buffer zone. That is why we don't call it a buffer zone. If you talk to any army officer who's in service who knows this thing, he'll not call it a buffer zone. One. Okay. He will not call it no man's land. He will call it both man's land. He will say this is an area of common patrolling.
Or line area.
He will not this thing. So we have to be very careful, right? So these things are not, and don't go across. Look, if you go across the LAC and you do an encroachment the other side, you should be very clear what the repercussions are. It's not that it can't be done even today. It can be done. There are many places you can do it. Right? You should be very clear of the political repercussions and the international repercussions. Okay? Gone are the days when, when I'm not bragging, there was a time when I went to a pass in Arunachal Pradesh, high altitude, and there was no one on the other side. I walked across for half an hour and came back. No one was wiser for that. There's no one there. So that days are gone completely. You can't do all that nonsense anymore. Yeah.
So I'm going to
I
put up
long
another.
back. I'm now talking more than really in the last century, 30
I'm
years
going to
back.
put up another one on the buffer zone, sir. But
Yeah.
it actually throws up a larger question, which I'd like to ask you.
Yeah.
Ladakh.
Okay. There's that. Look again. Uh,
He's talking about the
that fellow.
salami
No,
slice.
no, wait. There's no salami, no slicing. Please forget it. All this is nonsense. See, these grazing grounds were always there in this areas.
Yes.
Okay, and whatever is happening is temporary. The so-called buffer zone is temporary. What are we saying at this point of time? At this point of time, avoid this grazing ground. Both are saying don't go into this grazing ground. Otherwise, earlier in the good old days, these graziers used to go up to our side of this thing. From that side also, they used to come this side and do grazing and be happy. It's only that in that area today, there's no buffer zone. I told you this. Nothing is being created. It's a temporary measure by which, this thing, maybe once something happens, when I say temporary, this temporariness could be for 1, 2, 3 years. I'm not saying it's going temporary is for 2 days. It could be for 5 years also. Okay. So in this time, you can't go here. That's all. You're not being denied of going there forever. You'll go somewhere else. Okay. I agree that there's a loss of grazing ground, but for the past 2 years anyway, there's a loss of grazing ground. You couldn't have gone there.
This is the first incident, by the way.
Uh,
So in the heat, in the back, I mean, so-called
no, it's
after
okay. Look,
disaster.
the counselor might want to come on NDTV and so get elected. There's local politics also at play.
That's
So leave
fine.
it
That's
at that. I don't blame him for what he's saying. That's his view, and we are in a democracy. He's got a right to talk of what he's spoken because it's his
fine.
grazing ground. You don't go and graze there. Okay, it's his livelihood and the livelihood of the people who elected him. I agree with that. But then there is another picture which is a larger picture. For the past 2 years, anyway, they couldn't have gone there, isn't it? Because there's a standoff taking place, and no one would have been allowed to go there. So if you're not gone there for another 2 years, you might have to wait for some more time before you go back there. Yeah.
Uh, so I'm going to put up two questions, and both are on the same line. So kind of
Yeah.
just take it forward. One is another question: if the Chinese and Pakistanis combine, can they squeeze us at Nubra? And the second one is: I hope the road link to DBO and the forward airfields remain
All
safe.
these are questions which I have answered long back. Nobra Valley, no one can get in. Neither the Pakistanis have been trying for the past 40 years and they have not seen Nobra. As simple as that. And the Chinese are far away. They have to cross Changchenmo, then they have to cross Sasar. Sasar Sasarla is 19,400 feet. And for the bloody best part of my time, I couldn't even send mules up there. Okay, I've gone there. I mean, I've not gone to. I mean, I'm not talking of Sasarla. I've not gone to top of Sasarla. Let me be very honest. We we used to do. No, the time when I was really there and doing administration of that area, this DBO road never used to be there. Shiok DBO road. That is today they call DS DBO road. No, so we used to go through the Nibra Valley, cross Sasarla, and then take stocking. We used to do winter stocking in this area of Daulat Beg Oldie and all these areas. Now you to do for the Chinese to come and get across Changchenmo and then get across Sasarla, and then they'll start seeing the Nubra with bloody
Seeing,
mules. Huh?
just seeing it.
They're seeing mules. Look, far fetched.
It's too fast.
They're all far fetched. You have to go there, spend just 24 hours climbing a mountain there. All your these questions will get cleared.
Now, normally I don't discuss politics in my channel, but I'm going to take this question up, sir, and
Yeah,
I'd like to make a comment about this as well. So
yeah.
I'd leave it to you to start, and then I'd like to just add: why does the Modi government lie and say that Chinese haven't come even an inch inside our territory?
Let me put it this way. I wouldn't like to comment on it because this question has to be asked to Mr. Modi and his government. Really, I'm not going to answer this. Right? So, and I don't think we should get involved with this.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted you to say. So, as a matter of fact, I'd also say this very clearly, guys. I would like to completely disassociate myself with any discussion on national security, which comes into a BJP Congress sort of a this thing, and
We
that is
don't
something
want to get involved with this.
because that is petty politics uh, played by people who have not even ever been to that entire area. They don't know the history of India and China. And trust me, a lot of the people that are saying all this stuff today are part of the problem. So I don't want to get into it. Let's just leave it like that. Thank you so much for the question, and let's move forward. Uh, okay, this is Gaurav. He says Dr. Shankar gives a lot of stress on reading Mahabharat, and seems like India is playing the Kata Kutniti explained in Mahabharat. Sir, I mailed you last month, but I still am waiting a reply.
Yeah,
Sir,
look, let me.
he's writing so many articles, and me disturbing him all the time takes a lot of
No, no,
effort.
no, no. I have no problem in answering, but to be very honest, uh, I I've not read Mahabharat from this point of view, and whether it's Kutniti or any Niti, ultimately whether you read an English novel or a British history or the World War II or World War I, and you read Mahabharat, ultimately what you have to deal with in most of these cases is your own sense of what you have to do right on the ground. Your own sense how you have to handle a situation. No one comes there in any situation to help you out. Uh, you know, I'll give you a small example. It was in Kargil. Uh, I had taken my regiment. We were in the east and we were shifted into this area. We were to go across the LAC, all set. We couldn't go across the LAC because that was the night day when what shall I say? This thing happened in USA when Bill Clinton told Nawaz Sharif, "Take your troops back," and the whole thing fizzed out. But when we were to go across the LAC, and I had to deploy
LOC,
my huh?
LOC,
LC,
sir.
LC, line of control. Uh, I had to deploy my regiment at a place. Now that place was in such a manner that I mean the terrain was in such a manner that we were to fire across the LC into the enemy bunkers. But unfortunately or fortunately, the terrain and the LC was in such a manner, there were a few enemy guns behind also. So it was in a cul-de-sac,
Uh,
but we had to deploy our guns there. So I had to decide what to do. No one tells you what to do then. You take your call, right? So, and who sorted this out? There was one senior NCO who said, "Sir, don't worry. If those chaps open from behind, we'll turn the guns around and fire there." End of story. I said, "Yeah." He gave me a very simple equation. It tells half part of my guns to be ready to fire behind. End of story. And we deployed. A different thing, we couldn't go across for other reasons. Like I said, by then Pakistan had capitulated, and end of story. So in such situations, you have to take the call yourself. No one will come and tell you what to do. Okay, none of this. You have to remember that you're in a situation where you probably don't have communications. Only communications is military communications. You don't read newspapers. You don't see anything. You are folk single-minded. So many of these discussions which we're having today don't actually even flash by your ideas. And in warlike conditions, that's all out. Your thinking is totally different.
true. True.
I'll leave it at that.
What kind of weapon platform should we invest to close the gap? That's a huge question, Sentinel.
Well,
I
I
must.
won't like to answer this at that.
It's a
Uh,
huge question. We'll
yeah,
we'll probably do a show
yeah,
on firepower and stuff like that and
some other day.
discuss this. In disengagement, our patrol areas become buffer zones. Let's keep that apart. We have to scale back from Kailash. No de-escalation. Depsang may be lost for good. What are we working on?
I don't think so. All this is imaginary thinking. We're not going to lose Depsang. Don't worry. By now, 2 years have gone. We should be very clear that the Indian Army knows what to do.
Exactly. They had to do
The
something
government
more
of India
than
also knows what to do. They're going back. We started with 7 or 8 friction points or standoff zones. Today you're left with 2. Give time and they'll go back. It took
So
9 years to start.
I'd like to state something that you told me when we started discussing the
Yeah,
finger score, if you remember.
yeah.
Guys, that guy made a map, if you guys remember, and I'll if you want, I can
Yeah.
that thing on my website. You can just please have a look. He put a map on finger four, which we had to rub off and go back. Who does that? Not a winner. Not somebody who's gained ground, by the way.
So be confident that we'll do the right thing. On these issues, I have no doubt about the Indian Army. Or for that matter, the government of India also.
Wild conspiracy theory. Maybe China vaccinated the youngsters first because they low-key wanted to get rid of their old population.
Well, no, I don't think that is right. I don't think that conspiracy, this thing is that much. Because if they do that, they're going to be in bigger problems. You must remember, China has a repressed society. Any misstep of this nature, if it blows, it can blow very badly on the communists. And the communists are very scared of this. Any leader of a repressed society is always worried that one day he'll vanish. It's not like India, where you lose an election, you go and sit where you want and be happy. Okay, it doesn't happen there.
I'm going to put out a couple of comments. So they're funny. If you like to
Okay.
put, they're funny. He's being serious, but I guess they're funny. If buffer zones have created on the Indian side, this is a huge setback for India.
And this chap looks like someone who loves China.
We have lost Depsang and
Look,
Demchok forever.
Nawab Zada.
And this is not disengagement. This is abject surrender.
You put look Nawab Zada ji. I think you are no, you put on an Indian flag, but I don't think you're Indian by any chance. Yeah, you don't think Indian.
Think
Okay.
Indian. I think that's the most important. You maybe wherever you are, think
You
about it.
don't think Indian.
But one thing I'd like to put across here. I think if I don't know if you and this is just I've got one more question after this. Uh, a lot of people and some of so-called experts have also written about it, that we've lost the patrolling rights and we've lost this and we've lost that, and this was established by us. This is I fail to understand one thing. When we talk about we've lost this right, and traditionally speaking, when somebody says that that is Aksai is our land, fair enough. I accept that. There is no question about it. That is all back. But currently, I mean, one must also realize possession is 9/10 of ownership. And if you look at it, and I don't know, this is the last thing I'd like to say. They so-called have 38,000 square kilometers of our land in Aksai. And if you look at it from the other side, we hold 90,000 square kilometers of their land in Arunachal. So you can keep doing this forever and ever and ever,
Hey,
and they can
Adi, I don't
this and
think we
that.
should get
How
no
does this
wait.
stand?
We shouldn't get involved with all this. We are very clear. We hold nothing of their land.
Absolutely.
We are holding Aksai. Our aim as Indians is to get it back, even if it takes a lifetime. Even if it means my grandson has to do it, so we should get after it. And we should never have a doubt that we're going to lose anything from China. Be patient. Yeah.
That's what I think, because there's just so much confusion about this whole thing. Let's please think pragmatically. It's not as easy as talking about Lelo. It's
Okay.
not possible. It's
No,
not
no.
possible.
Let's get ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I like General Pierre's idiom. Neither India or China has the advantage, but mountain warfare is something where
Yeah,
Indian
yeah.
army
I
will
have
have.
no doubt about it. I have just no doubt about it. I've been too much in the mountains and I've commanded troops in the mountains. I know what men can do. I know what Indian army can do. We're very lethal in the mountains. People don't understand this. Okay, people
I
don't
think that's
understand.
that's good for the day. We've covered a lot of track. We've gone through about an hour, 60 minutes. Uh, it's very interesting. I think Mr. Venki, I'd like you to check out the video that we've done on mountain warfare itself. It's about a 45-50 minute video where we've discussed how mountains actually are pro or against this whole defending and fighting in that area, and how what kind of stuff the Chinese actually would want to do. In closing, sir, thank you so much for one, the map, and of course a very level-headed discussion, because what we see in on our TVs and what we read by loads of people is a lot of innuendo. We need to hear it from people who've been there on the ground. I mean, if you want to talk about the Fed increasing interest rates in USA, you'll get an economist. And when you want to talk about military aspects, please get somebody from the military who served there, so that he can give you the right perception about what is happening on the ground. And that's all I want to say. I feel very passionately about this, sir, because this whole standoff was the reason I started my channel. So I am a little. This is a little bit of a subject which is close to my heart. If you remember, I used to pester you quite a bit to make me understand what's happening,
Yeah,
and I
I
just
agree.
so it's something which is very close to my heart, and I feel really sad when people pick up what is not supposed to be picked up without doing any research and anything else. Anyways, that's all I would say. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. Guys, please do hit the like button, subscribe. And yes, if you can, do contribute to the Dev Talks effort. UPI, join for the membership, or thanks just to send a super. And yes, do check out my latest brand spanking new website called thedevtalks.com. Thank you, sir, for joining me. Till next time, Jai Hind.
Thank you.